Hey, everybody, welcome to PVD Horror. My name is Dave. I'm here with my co host, Brandon. And today we have a special holiday episode, I guess you could say, of sorts. We have composer Martin Macphail here, who has done a number of significant projects for films, shows, trailers, a bunch of stuff, contributing to films like Psycho Gorman, Brooklyn 45, The Void, amongst others. But today, specifically, we're here to talk about Silent Night, Deadly Night, the new film coming out. I think it's December 12th, which we are so stoked for. Martin, thanks for joining us, man.
Hell yeah, thanks for having me, guys. This is great. And yeah, Silent Night, Deadly Night. Happy holidays, everybody. We're gonna start killing people.
Oh, and I forgot that you're also affiliated with Blitz Berlin. So you're a part of that group. So I should have mentioned that as well. But yeah, don't want to forget that.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah. So Blitz Berlin is a trio. I am one part of three. And the three of us have made music together ever since high school when we started our first punk band together. And now we make music for film and TV after many, many years. But same three guys, Blitz Berlin.
That's amazing.
That's awesome. Yeah, because you guys are originally from Canada and moved out to LA. What was that experience like for you?
Yeah, it was a crazy leap, man. I mean, are you guys both American? You're from the
Yeah.
US, are you?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So what you may not know then is getting into the US as someone who isn't from there is really hard and expensive and difficult. So we played in a punk band forever, did a lot of touring across the country and stuff. Got our first record deal and moved to Toronto, which is kind of like the only place in Canada to go if you want to participate directly in the music industry, because that's where all the record labels and most of the big venues are and that sort of
Yep.
stuff. Um, and while we were there, we kind of had a bunch of good and bad stuff happen all at once. We signed our first record deal, the band sort of fell apart, but the three of us stayed together. And right around that time, we got a chance to score our first couple of projects, films, and trailers, which got us our U.S. visas and allowed us to move down to L.A. But we were moving as, first of all, Canadians from a small town that then moved to Toronto, which felt very scary in our early 20s, and then hopping ship from Toronto to Los Angeles, an even bigger, crazier, scarier city where we know nobody, and or have, like, I don't know, American credit or cell phones. So it's kind of like redoing your life from scratch at that time. So it was a big, scary move for sure. It
Yeah.
felt like a really big risk, but it felt like something that we'd been given almost this like second lease on our careers by discovering film music and being lucky enough to have some projects in this world. We'd made peace with the band in terms of its like yelling at kids, punk rock touring thing, being kind of in our past at that point. And this felt like, oh, we get another shot. This could be a way that we can really make music our career. So it felt like we can shrink away from that and maybe just get real jobs, or we can take the biggest swing and the biggest risk of our lives and get to LA and try to like wring a living out of this city with
Yeah.
our bare hands, um, which is what thankfully we've managed to do so far. We're still
Yep.
in business. Hey,
Yeah.
Martin, can I ask you just a quick question? So you said originally there was more members though, and that kind
yeah.
of dismantled, and this was part of that dismantling because of the shift of where the band was going to go in style of music and stuff.
Mm, it was more, I feel like, kind of a time in our lives and kind of industry driven. It falling
Okay.
apart very much had to do with confronting a lot of realities about what actually signing a record deal and being a part of the music industry was going to entail, and which is a crash course in all of the good and terrible parts of that side of the business.
Yeah.
So our two guitar players, who I'm still friends with and love deeply, both were like, "This isn't what I signed up for," which I get it.
Hmm.
So they moved on. One actually became a PhD as a professor of philosophy. The other one became a quite a successful writer. So they're each
Wow.
living their best lives, which is great. But us three fools, we were like, more punishment, please, and stuck it out in the music industry. Really, that all that crumbling happened, and then we had like 6 months of like depressed soul searching, being like, oh my God, what are we going to do with our lives? And then out of that came a more experimental sound, taking some big artistic risks, and finding a home in film music.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Now that's awesome because, like you said, you stuck together and now you worked on projects like Top Gun Maverick, and you did the Alien Earth series for FX and
Wow.
Jordan Peele's Scare Tactics, you know what I mean? So it's pretty cool to see, everything to come together and then you get like land big projects like that. How does it feel?
It feels good, man, for sure. It feels like a massive relief, to be honest,
Mm,
when these things happen. Like each time, every year by the end of the year, like the three of us will like go to, there's a chain restaurant in Canada called The Keg, and it's like it's a steakhouse. It's fine. And
okay.
it's a franchise up there. We'll go for a steak at The Keg, the three of us. And almost always the conversation is like, can you believe we're still in business? How did that happen? So every one of those, I mean, obviously Top Gun was really big for us, and working on something like Alien Earth was amazing more recently. Um, each of those feel like this miracle when they happen. We haven't, maybe at some point we'll get to a point where like, ah, another day on the job, but this time it's more like, oh my God, every time. So yeah,
You
it
sound
feels
super
very
humble. Like I'm trying to get over like you're working on like huge projects and you
Yep.
sound very humble about it.
well. To smokescreen. I have massive ego, so don't worry about that.
I knew
No,
it. I knew
I
it.
it honestly, this is something a conversation that we've had over the years, the three of us in my band, and it always surprised me that certain musicians, especially when we were touring, would come out of that experience with like a big ego or thinking that they're God's gift or something. Whereas like in my experience, nothing will beat you down faster than trying to live that lifestyle professionally because you are literally sleeping on floors in the winter. You're sleeping in the van if you can't find a floor to sleep on when it's minus 30 outside. You know, you're playing to
Mm.
100 kids and then the promoter rips you off and doesn't pay you and you can't fill your van with gas. Like we've done all of that stuff. And to come out of that and be like, yeah, I really am that guy. I'm like, how did you get
Yeah.
you know, this constantly reminding you that you are not that guy. And if you
Mm.
want a seat at the table, you just have to work harder than anybody else for it. That's always been our
Mm.
philosophy with this stuff. So um, I hope that you know if we're lucky enough to continue having success in this business, I hope that experience will continue to prevent me from convincing myself I'm some divine gift to music. Like we love what we do, and we're very aware of the fact that it can go away at any time.
Yeah.
And so we work really hard at it to try to get these jobs.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Now, let's fast forward all the way back to the beginning. What early inspirations led you to pursue a career as a film composer?
Hmm. That's a good question. I think it was more in retrospect we realized this stuff because coming up, like there was movies we loved, obviously. There's a formative experience I had when I had strep throat in grade nine and ninth grade, I guess you say down here. And I was homesick for like 2 weeks. My dad went to the video store and rented a bunch of VHSs that were like his favorite movies that he thought I would like. And in there was Commando, Blade Runner, Big Trouble in Little China, Escape from LA, I think, something else great, True Lies, maybe. I don't know, whatever it was. It was like this formative package of action and all this sort of stuff. And this became some of my favorite movies and movies that I just, you know, loved so much and would watch again and again with my brother. We would try to make our own versions of them around the house with video cameras and stuff. But participating in the making of them, I honestly just never thought was something I could do. Like it didn't seem like something that was available to people from where we were from, being small town in Canada, never, you know, going to like orchestral arrangement school or something, like coming in a totally different way sonically. And our skill set was so different. Um, but one of the artists that I've listened to all throughout that process would be Nine Inch Nails,
Okay.
and seeing how Trent and Atticus were
Yeah.
able to, you know, they're not John Williams. They're not writing these, you know, classical pieces of music. They're completely taking their own path in and creating amazing, beautiful music that isn't what I thought of as like real film scores or something, you know, as a kid. Um, so I think that was something that gave us a bit of confidence. Not that we're frickin' Trent Reznor, but that you can take a non-traditional approach and make people feel something and make a film score that's exciting, even if you know, didn't go to Berkeley or something like
Trent Reznor
Yeah.
didn't work on Top Gun Maverick. Just saying.
that. Honestly, he would have killed it though. He would have
he
done a
would
great job.
he would have done a good job.
Uh,
Yeah.
Now, also, I need to know, like, what are some of your favorite film sound moments of all time in film for you?
Man, that's a good one. Two moments come to mind. my answers are never very cool with these things. I feel like there's some people like I may be a bit of a cinephile. Like I watch a lot of movies. I love thinking about movies. It's a
Yeah.
big
Hmm.
part of my life. But I'm my answers are always very mainstream. So here's one: True Lies, which I mentioned already.
Yep.
Love that
Yep.
freaking movie. You guys know the movie, right? Yeah, of course.
Yep.
True Lies.
Yeah.
Bit the famous bit in the middle where there's the trucks are running away over the bridges in the Florida Keys, and the Harrier jets are like blowing them up with the missiles. And then there's a whole bit where Jamie Lee Curtis is on the top of the limo and it's going to go off the edge, and Arnie's trying to grab her hand. There's a music moment that happens in there that I love deeply because there's this kind of action score that's happening, and you get that it's tense and oh my god, is she going to make it out? And then there's that sort of like last chance moment where she sees how close it is, and they make eye contact, and the music switches to this triplet thing that happens. It goes this that is just, even not knowing anything about film music when I first watched it, it's such a like hair stand up on your neck sort of moment to be like, oh my god, this is the
Yeah.
real shit. And of course he saves her and pulls her out and whatever. So that's one, not a cool answer, but that I love that part deeply. And there's another one which maybe is a less cool answer, which is to the first of the newer Star Trek movies. You know what I'm talking about?
Okay.
Like Chris Pine and
Yep.
that franchise. There is the moment, the insane moment where like the Enterprise is being torn apart and there's that drill thing destroying Vulcan, and they have to do basically like a base jump out of the Enterprise down to the drill platform. And it's such a brilliant moment to me because the score is so fun up to that point, and the second they blow the airlock, there's no sound in the movie for like a full minute. Like there's no music, there's no sound effects. It is completely silent as they're like
Hmm.
plummeting through this debris field heading towards that platform. And the first time I saw that in the theater, I remember just being like, like levitating out of my seat, just being like, "Holy shit, that's so cool!" And I think sometimes that pulling away can be even more exciting than a piece of music, knowing when to show
Yeah.
restraint so that your moments are
Yeah.
more felt when they do happen. That always stuck with me as just such a cool moment.
I was with you for the True Lies, but I can't do Star Trek and Star Wars movies and stuff like that.
Star
Yeah,
Trek in
not me.
general, or just the new
Yeah,
movies?
never watched any Star Trek. Just doesn't
Hey,
not
that's
something I
fair.
gravitate.
I grew up a Trekkie, so that
Yeah.
respect. That's okay. We can make peace.
Yeah, they're good movies. I think you would enjoy them, Dave. Just give them a
Yeah.
chance.
The newer ones
Yeah.
looked all right, but
Yeah.
I just yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of stubborn. I was
That's fair.
actually curious because I knew Brandon was going to ask that question, and I was thinking of some of my moments like, but one of the films that comes to mind whenever I think about score and stuff like that is I always think about like Insidious and like what James Wan does
Mhm.
with that movie and music. Like, what are your thoughts on a film like that and how like heavily influenced by the music it is? You know?
Yeah, I mean that one has one of the greatest title cards, which has been referenced to us so many times. Like that opening of the first Insidious, when you actually get the Insidious moment on screen, and it's like all the strings, every string is playing every note it can. You know that like skittering, whatever.
Yep.
That's something that is an iconic horror moment to
Yeah,
me, and I think a fair amount of James Wan's films, they take music swings like that I appreciate.
yeah,
Um, so I mean, I suppose that is the opposite of the approach I just talked about. There's a place for maximalism
right.
too,
Yeah,
but uh, but I think if you examine the full score to a movie like Insidious, I think that there is a lot of restraint in there too, so that moments like every string detuning and playing everything, if it was doing that all the time, it would get exhausting and there would be no
hmm
dynamic to it. So pulling away when you need to, I think is really important to creating moments that are memorable like that.
yeah. That's a good point that I never really thought of. Like, you can't like if I think back to like a Halloween movie, I almost envision it as if the theme song's playing the entire movie if I was just going off my memory, but like it's
Yeah,
not, right? It's coming only at
Hmm.
certain moments because if it was, we would be so sick of that song by the end of, the films, it would be exhausting.
totally.
So you're exactly right. You have to be careful of how much you utilize and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I love
Man,
talking about different elements of film that we don't always like aren't as
Yeah.
knowledgeable about because I learn something every time. So
sure.
you just taught us a little something right there.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
great.
I think it's special too because like you said, like before you even made the answers to the question, you were like, this is like not a great moment, but it is to you, and you have the
Yeah,
ear for it. You know what I mean? So that I think that's important because it motivates you to kind of like create the stuff that we love that in the films that you have done. So I don't know. Just I don't
Yeah.
downplay that. Like you know, take those moments that you have, and then just say, yeah, and just go straight forward with it. You know, because
I
it means a lot.
I
it's
appreciate
like
that.
obscure moments in mainstream
Yeah,
film, if that makes a difference. Like, well, I wouldn't say they're
Sure.
obscure moments, like they're big scenes, but it's not the thing that everybody's commonly saying. So yeah,
yeah.
like Brandon said, you obviously have an ear for it.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, and I think the inverse of that is Steve Kostanski's films, who we were just mentioning, like Psycho
yeah,
Gorman and
Yep.
Deathstalker and stuff like that. He is almost, we talk about like the more obscure moments in the mainstream films. I feel like Steve's the other way around, where you're creating mainstream moments in these totally outsider kind of filmmaking, where he has
Yep.
similar tastes that I do. He loves some of these big cheesy movies from that time, um, and yet they're movies where the unexpected is constantly happening. So if you can create
Mm.
one of those like cheer in the theater moments, then you're,
yeah.
that's a different kind of challenge.
What are some specific techniques that composers have to use in order to create tension in a scene, other than like that restraint you were saying? Is there anything else that's more specific to like horror or the thriller genre?
Hmm. Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, there are certain techniques that like you can come back to uh that feel a little bit like of if you don't have an idea somewhere, you just like know that they're going to work at least as a placeholder. And a lot of that has to do with things that aren't quite in tune, to be honest, when it comes to creating tension. So if you have like a string or a violin or something that's playing like a pretty nice sustained tone, then you have another one that is playing the same pitch but is just flat a
Yeah,
little bit or tuning sharp a little bit. That's something that even if it's very low in a mix, just like our ears always want a piece of music to return to the root. And so the root being like the resolve note, in a
yeah.
piece of music. Um, so if you have a piece that is never arriving there, that's an almost like subconscious level of just discomfort of being like, why won't this finish in a way
It
that I
builds
want it
it
to?
Mm.
builds anxiety.
Yep. Yeah.
Exactly. It builds anxiety and tension, and but to your point, the pulling away thing, I think might be the most effective, and something on Silent Night, Deadly Night that we learned a lot from Mike Nelson on it, from the director, because his tastes are so minimal.
Mm.
There was a lot of that in the film where we maybe had that detuning violin in a scene. So like, oh, this will be creepy, and he's like, great, great, great. But what if we didn't have that? What if we just
Mm.
turned it down until it's almost inaudible, or removed it entirely and just let these little, much more sparse tones shine through? And that, because again, your ear is wanting some kind of music, some sort of assurance of how you're supposed to feel, and when you don't have that, it's a different kind of anxiety as well. So there's a lot of different tricks and artistry like that. But in our case, it's oftentimes director led. It's
Yeah.
really about the director's taste.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I had the opportunity to check out Silent Night, Deadly Night at Fantastic Fest,
Sick. Nice.
which was the festival's first surprise film. How did you get involved in this project?
Yeah, this one came about in a funny way. Well, maybe not funny for us, because I feel like a lot of our
Mm.
projects come about this way. I think it came about from a cold email, to
Oh,
be honest
Mm.
with you. And unrelated to the film itself, we just really liked Mike's work. And usually when we like a director's work, we just message them. I don't remember if it's email or a DM or something. We're just like, you make cool shit. Let's meet sometime. And so we
Yeah.
had Zoom with him years ago where we just got along really well, talked about our favorite movies, got excited about stuff. He has a composer that he loves that he works with most of the time. So we were like, you know, who knows if that turns into anything or not. It's always good to meet like-minded creatives.
yeah.
And then it just so happened that he's in the middle of making a movie with his composer, and Silent Night Deadly Night came down the pipe in a crazy rush, so he wasn't able to have his guy and gave us a shot. So that's uh, that's how this one came to be.
That's awesome. And that was the thing I was saying. I was like thinking, but you had already touched on it. Like, what was it like working with him? And like, did he give you like the full range of like control of what you wanted to do with this project? Or like, what I
Yeah,
mean, because you said it's like he had his hand in it, but was it just like, okay, here's my idea. Now you run with that. Was it something like that?
yeah, definitely. He's a really good collaborator. Also, just I don't know if you guys
Mm,
have spoken to him yet or not, but
yeah.
he's a wonderful human. Like he's such a kind person, very easy to work with, very a good leader when it comes to being creative. I think he understands the line between having a vision, but allowing your creatives to experiment and bring their own vision to something.
Hmm.
Specifically with Silent Night, Deadly Night, it was great because we were brought on early enough that we started writing all the music after reading the script, so long before they had ever gone to camera. So we'd created these sort of suites of music, these ideas for different character themes or how we were going to revisit some themes from the original film. Um, and we got to jam on those with Mike before they ever started filming. So by the time they'd shot the movie, he ended up editing a lot of it to those pieces that we wrote. So our job was like kind of half done by the time they'd
Hmm.
edited the film, which made the scoring process a little smoother. That's kind of our favorite way to work when it works that way because it's the most free musically as well because nothing's been decided in terms of what's on camera yet.
Yeah.
Cool.
Now, like you said, he's a cool person. I met him down at New York Comic Con also, and I
Killer.
know it's a lot of pressure, rebooting a franchise, that's already been established. And I had told him, I said, look, Mike, I had seen the film. You have nothing to worry about. I think the fans will definitely pick it up and enjoy this project. You could see it. Like, it means a lot to him. Like, because he just touched on doing like the Jason film, also short film. And so, what was it like for you though to jump into this and like, compose a reboot of something that someone loves? Like, how did you tackle that?
Definitely, man. There was pressure there for sure. I
Mm,
mean, finding the line between paying homage to the original in a loving way and bringing some of those themes and ideas forward, but also being conscious of the fact that this movie is really distinct tonally. It's really doing its own thing. It's not just trying to reheat the other one's
yeah.
nachos, so to speak.
Yep.
It is maybe a Christmas cake. Reheat the other one's Christmas cake. But it is doing its own thing, and so um, one great thing about this process is not only did Mike have a very clear vision, but the producers for the original film were involved in this one. So
Okay.
Scott and Dennis, who were the guys who created that whole, PR crisis around their film in the first place and wrote the original, were involved in this too. So nobody kind of knows the projects and the franchise itself and the feeling of it better than those guys. So that I think gave us some confidence too that they were responding so positively to our approach, um, being as they're so close to it. So
Mhm.
yeah, it was a balance between paying homage but feeling free enough to also surprise people with some stuff.
Yeah. Do you think that you guys will ever tour and do these like scores at different locations, kind of like John Carpenter?
Oh man, that'd be cool. I mean, that would be a real collision of our lifestyle choices so
Yeah.
far. It would have to be a slightly different setup than the last time we toured in terms of maybe we get hotels this time. Uh, but that would be cool. I mean, hey, if we're fortunate enough to have a film that's like a hit on that level that would create a demand for that, I think we would do that in a second. That'd be a blast.
We recently saw John Carpenter when he was in New York City,
Killer.
and that was cool because he did like the theme for various movies, and they had like the visuals in the back of the movies. And we had seen
Mm.
Goblin as well, who did like the live score for Demon, right? Demons.
Oh,
Yeah.
killer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was cool too, because that was a different kind of experience. So I mean, you got some options there. So hopefully you guys can figure it out. We'd love to see that.
Yeah.
Man, that'd be very cool. I got to see John Carpenter live. It was a few years ago, though. I saw him in Toronto. But it was so fun, man. What a great show. And just
Yeah.
like him clearly just like kind of hamming it up too with being like,
That's the
if you're
best.
driving home tonight, be careful because Christine is on the right. And then you like, it's not
Yep.
Christine. It was just, it was, it was great. I would love to do that. So we'll put that out into the ether. Maybe someday
Okay.
that'll
Yeah.
be a Blitz Berlin tour show.
I definitely want to check that out.
For sure.
Um, Also, I just want to ask, you've touched on so many different genres. Is there a certain genre that you want to like tackle next? You know what I mean? Because you had your hand in everything. What is something left that you truly want to, try out?
Hmm. Yeah, that's a great question. I think we've done a lot of genre stuff for sure, and
Hmm.
a lot of my favorite movies are action and sci-fi and horror and that sort of stuff. So, I don't think I'll ever get tired of playing in that sandbox. But, um, I think maybe what we've got more of a hunger for now, because it's something we've done less of, is something that is a little bit more just like a drama or a slice of life, something that is
Mhm.
not necessarily trying to scare people, but something where we can sort of dig deep on the concepts of minimalism and melody writing, that could bring a real personal touch to a character. There's actually a film, it's not out yet, called Wet Under Blue Sky, that we scored earlier this year. And it's a drama about CTE told from the perspective of a boxer who gets hit in the head and kind of goes down this dark rabbit hole of depression afterwards. And that was a very novel film for us, because it's not scary, not sci-fi, not anything. It is an intimate character study, which to me was like the most fresh, inspiring thing, because it was had none of the same touchstones of the stuff we usually do, but was such a beautiful film to write for. So I think I'd love to play more in that world in the future.
Yeah.
Martin, can you do our viewers and listeners a favor and just let people know where they can find you, if you're present on social media, where they can hear more of Blitz Berlin, and anything else you want to promote?
Yeah, man, absolutely. So I mean, Blitz Berlin, if you look that up, we're the only thing named that. So it's you find us on Instagram or whatever. I guess we use Instagram the most. We got a website and that sort of stuff. Whatever. Spotify, you'll find us on Apple and all that streaming services. The main thing I guess I would like to plug is Silent Night, Deadly Night is out on December 12th, but also the soundtrack to the film is out on the same day from Lakeshore Records,
Nice.
and that'll be the full score to the film. These types of day and date soundtrack releases are a little more rare these days than they once were. So
Mhm.
I'm very excited that we've got some great partners on that. So that'll be out everywhere in the world. You'll be able to hear the Silent Night of the Night score December 12th.
Very cool.
Nice.
All right, everybody, make sure you keep an eye out for that. Check out the score, check out the film. And yeah, Martin, we hope you come back and talk future projects with us. We'd love to have that. And hopefully we catch that live show at some point. So we'll keep our fingers crossed.
Hell yeah, man. Thanks so much for having me, guys. That was great.
No problem.
Absolutely. All right, everybody, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week with a new episode. Have a good one. See you later.
Takes a lot of love for a person to